This is the story. A kind-hearted and sweet girl whose dream is to become a school teacher. Soon after completing her graduation, when a senior teacher goes on leave, she gets the chance to fulfill this dream during that time period. She goes to teach a class where there is a boy named Saga. Saga is very handsome and good-looking, but most of his attention is on singing rather than studies because music is his passion. He is deeply enthusiastic about it. Today, when Asuka introduced herself to the class and explained the meaning of her name, which means to bloom, Saga was very impressed. The name, its meaning, and even the teacher herself left a strong impression on him. Later, during her rounds to check on all the classes after school hours, Asuka notices Saga secretly practicing in the music class at night. She is surprised to see him there so late and wonders what he is doing. However, before she can ask him anything, Saga gets scared, jumps down from the stage, and runs away. Asuka was worried, thinking how reckless he was. He could have hurt himself. She had no intention of punishing him. In his rush, Saga left behind his recorder. Asuka plays it and listens to his music. His voice, and not just the voice but also the lyrics, deeply touch her heart. Meanwhile, Saga remembers halfway home that he left his recorder behind. Since it was very precious to him, he immediately turns back and rushes toward the school to retrieve it. He fears the teacher will scold him. However, Asuka doesn't scold him at all. Instead, she cheers him up and tells him, "I listened to your song, and I was amazed. It feels like you're a professional." She was happy to learn that the boy had a dream and encouraged him. She also requested him to perform the song live for her. Hearing this, Saga becomes very happy, as it was the first time someone had encouraged him so much. Asuka tells him, "I'm really proud of your dream, and I want you to pursue it with all your effort." The story then fast-forwards 4 years. Asuka is no longer a teacher. Instead, she runs a small restaurant with her sister. It's unclear why she left teaching, but it is revealed that her sister's boyfriend proposed to her, which brought major changes in her life. After her sister's marriage, Asuka decides not to become a third wheel in their life. So, she chooses a new path for herself, stepping away from their lives to let her sister live her married life happily. Asuka had decided she couldn't stay with her sister anymore, so she chose to leave. Fortunately, during this time, she came across an advertisement. The ad mentioned a job opportunity where the metro service was free, food was free, and, best of all, the salary was attractive. Seeing this, Asuka was thrilled and immediately decided to apply for the position. A few days later, Asuka stood in front of the house where her job interview was scheduled. Inside the house, she was greeted by a manager from an entertainment company named Kinjiro. Kinjiro briefed her about the job and its responsibilities. The house itself was quite simple, but challenging to manage because it was home to 7 boys who lived there together. These boys were members of an emerging boy band. The house had been provided to them by their entertainment company, which had a contract with them. Kinjiro explained all of Asuka's duties, which included taking care of everything in the house, watering the plants, organizing the boys' belongings, ensuring cleanliness, doing laundry, and having meals ready on time by 7 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. The worst part, however, was the boys' bedrooms, which were in a disastrous state. Asuka was utterly shocked at the mess. Kinjiro further emphasized that while the boys were talented pop stars, they had certain rules. Kinjiro strictly warned her, "Under no circumstances should you develop a romantic relationship with any of the boys. This is a rule of your job. If such a thing happens, you will be immediately fired." Hearing this, Asuka didn't say much and simply nodded, surprised by the warning. Soon after, it was revealed that the lead member of the boy band was none other than Saga. However, the band was currently going through a rough phase. The boys were unmotivated and uninspired, and most of the time, they seemed lethargic. Meanwhile, another boy band, named Jane, had recently gained massive popularity and was performing at sold-out concerts everywhere. In contrast, Saga's band, Bloom, had fallen far behind. These struggles weighed heavily on Saga, who was under immense pressure as the band leader. Due to the setbacks, Saga had become stressed and withdrawn. While the other boys often indulged in fun and lived carefree lives, Saga carried the burden of responsibilities and found himself feeling lost. Unlike Jane, who were chauffeured in cars, Bloom's members either traveled by train or walked home. These differences in success further added to Saga's frustrations. One evening, after a particularly tough day, Saga decided to skip going to the practice house with the other members and returned home instead. As he entered, he noticed something remarkable, a positive change in the house. The house looked incredibly tidy, something that surprised Saga. But what caught his attention even more was the sight of a girl cooking in the kitchen. When Saga turned towards her, he realized it was none other than Asuka. Both Saga and Asuka recognized each other, but in their flustered state, something unexpected happened. Asuka accidentally dropped the pot she was holding, and the contents spilled all over Saga. What made the situation even more chaotic was the sudden arrival of the other band members. They rushed down the stairs, misinterpreting the scene entirely. They jumped to conclusions, assuming that Saga had brought a girl home for personal reasons. Embarrassed and defensive, both Saga and Asuka tried to clarify the misunderstanding. Asuka finally spoke up, introducing herself formally. "I think your manager forgot to inform you. I'm your new housekeeper," she explained, calming the boys down. Asuka then proceeded to introduce herself properly to everyone, explaining her role, the daily routine she would be following, and how she intended to manage the household efficiently. Despite her efforts to keep things professional, the situation remained awkward for Asuka, especially when the boys appeared in casual, sometimes eccentric clothing around her. Still, she reassured herself that she'd get used to it eventually. Most of the boys were warm and friendly to her, except for Saga, who remained distant, quiet, and visibly moody. In an attempt to break the ice, Asuka tried to compliment him. "I still remember the first song of yours I ever heard. It left such an impression on me. I really loved it," she said. Instead of cheering him up, her words seemed to deepen Saga's frustration. He felt as though his career was fading, and hearing praise about his past work only reminded him of how much he'd fallen behind. Without saying much, Saga left the table without even touching his breakfast. Asuka, too, was carrying her own emotional baggage. She was haunted by memories of why she had quit teaching, which had once been her dream job. Although the details of her past were not clear, it was evident that seeing someone in a uniform often unsettled her. Later, after the boys left for the day, another character named Trinity, a manager from the music company, arrived. Trinity conducted a thorough inspection of the house and then took Asuka to the office. Trinity explained that the company had organized a special lunch for the boys, and Asuka saw this as an opportunity to bond with them. At the lunch, Asuka secretly watched the boys rehearse. She was captivated by their performance and the energy they exuded while practicing. Even though they seemed distant and unmotivated at times, there was an undeniable charm about them that left Asuka smiling. Then the president of the company warned them to gain their popularity, otherwise they will not renew the contract with the. They were given the time of 6 months. There was a concert on which they have to perform as to regain their popularity. Everyone start working hard to achieve this chance. The hope was that those who wanted to complete the work both at home and at the company would work hard, and Asuka would also support them. She took great care of the household chores. Asuka even brought groceries. Saga, although often moody, would always help when he saw her in need. He was tough on the outside, but soft on the inside. Finally, the day of the concert arrived, and they went to the venue. Asuka was shocked to see how big the venue was. She had become quite attached to the boys, especially Saga. She noticed that whenever the office staff treated them with discrimination, she couldn't stay silent and would speak up. She always defended them, saying that these boys had worked hard and would perform well. The band was very famous, and although the boys were cool, they were also very kind-hearted. Before their performance, they went to the stage and wished each other good luck. The 5-minute stage time began, and Bloom performed confidently, impressively, and with great energy. Their performance won everyone's hearts, and Asuka had tears of happiness in her eyes as she watched them perform so well. The audience gave them such a great response that even the management was surprised, not expecting such an outstanding performance. The president also secretly watched their performance. Asuka was very happy for Saga and told him, "I believe something good is going to happen for you guys. The way you performed today was amazing." But Saga replied, "You talk like a child. Nothing is going to change so soon." However, Asuka had made an impact on Saga's heart, and he was slightly moved. He wasn't in a good mood, but went with the rest of the band to the house. There, Asuka's praise for the boys was repeated. In the excitement, Saga got carried away and said, "You guys are worried, but I'm the leader. I'll write songs so good that in 6 months we'll be one of Japan's top bands." The comment was bold, and maybe even too much. But the interesting part was that the president was quietly sitting there, and when she suddenly heard this, everyone was shocked. She said, "Okay, today's performance was very good, outstanding even, but not so good that I'll renew your contract. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Yes, I will think about it, but you need to prove what Saga said. You just said it. Now, will you live up to it?" This was their last chance. The president had given them a final opportunity to prove themselves in the next 6 months. "If you guys become #1 in streaming videos, the contract will be renewed," the president said before leaving. Asuka was very happy, but everyone else was nervous. It was a huge milestone, and they weren't sure how they would achieve it. Asuka cheered them up, telling them that a way would surely come up. Earlier, Asuka had shared with Saga that she had a new dream, to see them bloom again. If they succeeded, she would feel successful too. Saga was moved by her words. Later, when Asuka came to him, he put a towel on her face and whispered in her ear, "I promise. I will try my best to help you achieve your dream." Saga didn't look back and walked away, but this gesture of his made Asuka's heart race with excitement. She stood there, smiling, while outside, he was also feeling a positive energy. The wallpaper in her phone also had a bloom poster, and she felt good being around them. She was start liking them, especially Saga, whose presence gave her a lot of positive energy. He was quite attractive, and the next day when she was about to leave, she thought back to that moment when he had put the towel on her face and said those words. She smiled, remembering it, and Saga, who was observing her, wondered why she was so happy while picking up the towel. Saga came to her, and she reminded him of the same moment. And hearing it, Saga got embarrassed, but nervously said, "You're crazy." But it was true that just as Asuka was happy after shifted to Saga house, he, too, was happy when she was around. Later, Saga made breakfast for himself, and Asuka discovered that he preferred Western food over traditional dishes for breakfast. He was also quite good at cooking, and he didn't like eating food made by others. Asuka immediately took note of his preferences and added them to his meal plan. The boys remembered the task the president had given them, to become the #1 streamers. They wondered if they would be able to do it, as it seemed very difficult. Later, Saga went to the office because he had to sign his contract with the president. The president was straight with the band, but was kind to Asuka. During their meeting, the president mentioned that the number of Bloom fans, known as blooming, was steadily decreasing. But Asuka took on the challenge, telling the president that she would gather 1,000 people within 2 days to show them they shouldn't underestimate Bloom. The president was happy with the challenge, but once outside, Asuka thought to herself, "What have I done? I said it in excitement, but gathering 1,000 people will be tough." After that, Saga came to check on her. There was a photo shoot happening for the boys, and they were wearing some very unique costumes. To be honest, Saga looked extremely handsome in them, but I could only see Asuka, who was shy and quiet. She didn't want him to notice her, so she just kept to herself. The boys rejected the costumes, and they were then given a bad boy look. But that didn't work either. Asuka then told them, "Look, why are you guys making things complicated? Just let it be." And that was when the idea clicked. The perfect shot was taken when all the boys wore the same clothes, holding flowers, and posed in the right way for the photo shoot. It turned out to be absolutely perfect for them. These formalities kept going on, but in fact, Saga was very troubled. It was a tough task to prove himself in just 6 months. He then announced that he would be stricter and forwarded the boys' workout and exercise plans, which were very strict. He also shared his phone number with Asuka, as part of his planning to ensure that the boys wouldn't make any mistakes with their diet. Now, Asuka would handle the meal plan, and at the same time, Saga would be checking on them regularly, ensuring that they followed the routine. The boys worked extremely hard, with lots of practice and running every day. Their lives had become very difficult due to Asuka's decisions, but Saga's life was even tougher. After all this, when Saga sat down to write lyrics, nothing seemed to work for him. Meanwhile, the rest of the boys were exhausted and only ate chicken and vegetables. Seeing them struggle, Asuka once cheated a little and gave them some small brownies, but fate was not on her side. And just as she gave them the brownies, Saga walked in and caught her. He was angry, but even angrier was another band member who told her that he was being too strict. Then, once again, an argument broke out, and Saga stormed out in anger, but Asuka followed him to try and calm him down. Asuka explained that they had been fighting a lot recently because of all the pressure they were under. Saga told her to keep her distance and focus on herself, that it shouldn't matter to her, but Asuka wasn't one to give up easily. She replied, "It's my duty to help you all, to make your lives smoother, and that's what I'm doing." Then the music played, and came to know that in the past, the boys weren't just band members. They were like friends to her. Saga smiled, happy also, but things had gotten worse when their 8th band member ran away without telling anyone due to Saga's strictness. After that, the group had fallen apart, and some members blamed Saga for being too harsh. Despite everything, they received some good news. Asuka had arranged something special for them. There was going to be a festival in their area, and many people would be attending. She had managed to secure them a 10-minute performance slot. The boys were so desperate that they felt this festival was a big opportunity for them. They needed publicity, And although Saga was still worried, he agreed to let them perform, but only if they didn't cheat. The boys worked really hard, practicing all the time, while Asuka was busy handling their publicity. She also took care of Saga without him realizing it. However, the biggest challenge was that Saga wasn't able to write new lyrics for their upcoming song. The night before the festival, Asuka went out to meet some clubs and societies to promote their performance, but she was late returning. Saga started to worry, but still didn't call her. He became anxious, thinking something might be wrong, so he decided to check on her. When he went to find her, he discovered that Asuka was drunk, talking to some people from the club while promoting the band. She had even told them to post about it on social media for more promotion, but she had gotten drunk in the process. Saga, seeing her in this state, gently told her to follow him, but she couldn't even walk properly. Saga had to carry her and take her home. On the way, Asuka kept giving him motivational speeches, and once they got home, she rested her head on his shoulder and fell asleep. However, on the day of the grand festival, a problem arose. The posters had been printed, but their performance wasn't listed. Instead, it was replaced by an escort show. The boys were furious about their egos being hurt, and Asuka apologized for the misunderstanding, feeling deeply sorry for what had happened. Asuka went to complete the festival preparations and stood there, realizing the hard work and dedication behind the publicity efforts. She had been doing all this without asking for anything in return. The boys, when they went out into the market, were stunned to see that everyone recognized them. Posters of their names were everywhere, and people were wearing accessories from their brand. They received a lot of love from the shopkeepers, who treated them like VIPs. As they were feeling special, Asuka arrived, and the boys were surprised to see her. They wondered who was in the mascot costume. It turned out that it was Saga, who had come to help Asuka fulfill her commitment. To do this, the boys wore animal costumes and performed their set during the mascot show, blending their performance with the event. Saga, seeing how much effort Asuka had put in, realized that he needed to do something in return. He began to open up about his tensions. He shared to Asuka that he felt as if he was dragging the whole band down because he wasn't able to write good songs, which in turn affected the entire group. It was the first time he had shared his worries with anyone. Asuka, who had been by his side all along, comforted him. She told him that if he tried to carry everything on his own, it would never be possible. He needed to rely on others, and they, in turn, would rely on him. Sharing the burden was the only way forward. At that moment, the other band members overheard the conversation. They came to support Saga, saying that they were a team, and whether they rose or fell, they would face it together. One by one, they took responsibility for different tasks, whether it was handling choreography, managing issues, or making decisions about food and travel plans. Each member stepped up, sharing the burdens so that Saga could focus on writing the lyrics without stress. For the first time, Saga felt relieved by sharing his problems, and the tension between him and the other band members eased. They were finally a cohesive team. Asuka's role in this had brought them closer, and she was now part of their shared joy. Later, the band found out that their mascot performance had gone viral on social media. A video had been uploaded, and people were commenting that the guy in the mascot costume, who was leading the group, was very handsome. The boys laughed at this, realizing how far they had come, both in terms of their professional growth and their personal relationships. The boys decided that now that their publicity was rising, it was the right time to stabilize their lives. But then, two tensions arose. First, Asuka's sister arrived, crying because her husband had cheated on her. At the same time, a new, strict manager was introduced, replacing their previous manager. This new manager had previously worked for Chani, and now, out of the bloom, had been assigned to handle the boys. Everyone was shocked by this sudden change in management. Meanwhile, Asuka's sister, dealing with the pain of her husband's betrayal, was causing an awkward situation as the boys were unsure whether to feel happy or sad. Then, their old manager arrived and shared the news that Kaushik had been promoted. He had been assigned a special task to handle Bloom. This was, of course, an insult to the boys, as it meant they were being overshadowed by someone else. The manager boasted about how he had turned bands from zero to hero, claiming that he had made Bloom what it was today, and was now assigning them roles in the process. Kaushik then sarcastically mentioned how they never imagined becoming number one, and she even implied that it was impossible to reach such heights. After putting them in their place, she left. With everything now out in the open, Asuka started comforting her sister. Asuka assumed that Saga would have problems with her sister's arrival, especially since he looked very rude. Initially, Asuka listened to her sister's sad story and then said that she would need permission from the boys to allow her sister to stay. She set out to talk to them, and they all give her permission. When Asuka set to go on a walk with her, she came to know that Saga was very afraid of dogs, and she knew this was going to be challenging for him. She suggested that they take a walk together to make friends with the dog. Saga, though scared, agreed, and Asuka was happy to see him open up. Things were looking up for the team. Bloom's viral video was trending, and their live stream was going well. Moreover, they had finally gotten a great manager. Asuka, expressing her joy, made a request to the boys to allow her sister to stay with them, and they agreed. The next day, Asuka's sister was shocked when she saw the boys' behavior. They acted like children, constantly relying on Asuka for everything. They even asked her where their toothpaste was and for towels. Asuka noticed this when she arrived early and told them that she had arranged an interview for Bloom, in which they had to perform a mascot dance. However, Saga had a problem with this. He said they couldn't always be mascots. It wasn't their true identity. Kaushik, however, told him that their publicity was minimal, and they had to take whatever opportunities came their way. Later, after the boys left, Asuka scolded Asuka and told him that they weren't children who needed constant care. She reminded her that they were capable of handling small things on their own and didn't need to be treated like kids anymore. Asuka was expressing her frustration, saying that the boys had become so dependent on her for everything. She mentioned that it wasn't entirely their fault, but they were part of the issue. If they continued this way, how would they ever be independent? She pointed out how Chani, who worked hard by herself, managed everything without depending on anyone. She emphasized that the boys needed to behave with more independence at home first if they wanted to show independence outside as well. Asuka indirectly hinted at Asuka that if the boys started working on their own, she should resign. Saga, who overheard everything, took it all in. That evening, when the boys returned, Asuka realized they had undergone a big transformation. Kaushik had taken them to meet Chani, where they observed how independently she managed everything, from small tasks to taking care of herself while shooting. The boys, meanwhile, still relied on each other for everything. Asuka was impressed, and even though she thought they were far from being completely independent, she appreciated their spirit and said that it was the right attitude for them to have. The next day, when Asuka woke up, she saw that the boys had made their own breakfast, and their lunch was also prepared without any help. After sending them off, she noticed Train, who had always been scared and sneaky, quietly coming into the room. He told Asuka that if the boys couldn't handle things themselves, they wouldn't care about their own work. Later, she was called to meet someone at an exclusive shopping mall. She wanted to know where to buy certain types of grass, and she also got more details about their tasks, who would handle the laundry, cleaning, and cooking. Meanwhile, she learned something interesting. A guy named Yuki, a member of the band, liked a girl who lived near their place, but the girl didn't like Yuki. Instead, she had a crush on Saga. During the interview, Asuka was informed that their viewership had increased by 50%. Kaushik told them that in the next 5 days, they would need to upload 5 videos, where they would sing and perform a choreography. However, Saga had a problem with this. He refused to sing songs written by someone else, but Kaushik, being persistent, convinced him to participate. As days passed, Asuka noticed that the boys were taking more responsibility. Their house and everything in it was cleaner, and she no longer had to do their work. She told them that the next day, they were invited to be guests on a major channel's morning show, where they would shoot in their own home. The boys were happy, but at the same time, they were stressed about showing their entire house on camera. Kaushik reassured them, asking if they had any problems with that. They were briefed about making their signature moves and sharing a unique quality that set them apart. Everyone, including Asuka, was excited about this. Just then, her sister spoke up saying, "I'm packing. I think it's time for me to leave. I've been here long enough, and if you ever need me, I'll come back and start working again with you, because I've had a fight with my husband. And here, I don't think your work is going to last." Asuka wanted to take her dog for a last walk, and Saga came along with her. He told her, "Are you going to give up on your dream again?" Asuka didn't like this comment at all. Asuka smiled, and Saga said, "Stop hiding pain behind a smile like an idiot. Don't you care that your job might be over? What happened to the dream of seeing us bloom? What about supporting us?" Before Asuka could reply, there was an emergency call. She returned home to find it in a complete mess. Everything in the living area was scattered, and the boys had not cleaned up in days. They had only cleaned the front area and hidden all the mess in the corners of their bedrooms. The washing machine and dishwasher were overloaded and broken. The next day, when they were clearing the bedroom for the interview, they realized the living area was still a mess. Everyone could see it, and no explanation was needed. It was clear to everyone what had happened. Asuka got angry and said, These boys will never change. They are just bloomers. Don't force them to change. They are fine as they are. Just make sure they give their best. Saga felt very special hearing Asuka speak for them, as she had never spoken for herself before. She said, "Every person is different. If they need support, I am ready to help. They just need to focus on their work and polish their talent. That's what's important." Asuka, now focusing on the interview preparations, was concerned about the chaos at home. Even though Asuka's sister was there to help, they were still in a mess, and everyone could sense the tension growing. One of them brings a friend along, and together they clean the house so well that it becomes unrecognizable. The preparations for the interview are going smoothly, and Saga tells his friends that no one should mention Chaney's name. It should be out of their minds. They all work hard and prepare thoroughly for the interview, figuring out who needs to talk to whom and how to manage everything effectively. They are selected. The next day, a big host named Lisa arrives at their house. She is secretly a big fan of theirs. The interview is going well when suddenly there's a loud noise outside. It turns out to be Asuka's brother-in-law, who has come to apologize to his wife. He apologizes profusely, but then begins to act out, saying, "Look, we have more to lose than each other, and who will find someone else? We have to make it work as it is." Asuka gets angry and starts scolding him, saying, "Whenever you've had trouble, I've always been there for you. It's okay to make mistakes, but they should be forgiven." Just then, someone comes to support Asuka, and that was Saga steps forward, standing next to her. He tells her, "We are very busy right now, so it's better if you leave." This leaves Asuka feeling a little better. They continue their work, and then Kinji suggests, "Since we have some time left before the interview, why not show them our own dance and performance that reflects our true nature?" This idea was loved by everyone. While the boys are doing a live performance, Asuka is sitting quietly, looking very angry. She tells everyone to gather around, and then, in front of everyone, she apologizes, saying, "I made a mistake. Asuka was right. Sometimes I get too strict, but I should understand that everyone is different. I will try to change my approach and think about how to deal things better." Later, in private, she tells Asuka, "When I first started in this job, it was difficult, but I've learned a lot from you. Being angry and strict is not always good. A smile and leniency are also important, just like everyone else." Meanwhile, Asuka's sister's time to leave has arrived, and Asuka doesn't feel the need to leave anymore. Seeing this, Saga is happy. The next day, during breakfast, the boys say, "We can't do your job, but we'll help with small things. We'll wash our own dishes, won't leave things lying around, and help with laundry." Later that day, as Saga returns home late at night, Asuka sees him and tries to confront him, but he doesn't respond. He silently picks up something and, in a calm manner, says, "If this hits the mark, what will you do? Will you date me now?" He aims for 3 targets, wondering whether he'll succeed, but when he throws, the aim is slightly off. Seeing this, he says, "Okay, forget it." And from there, the boys come in. They secretly overheard and saw Sir's reaction. They says, No, your aim wasn't off. It was almost perfect." And they all take him. The boys start asking him questions like, "When did you start liking Asuka? Why? How did it happen?" To which he answers with just one reply, "It's not like that. I don't like her. You guys misunderstood." He then tells the whole story, explaining that he had written a song and went to the president to play it for him. The president liked the song, but said there was nothing special about it that would make it #1. He advised him to write a love song, but he never thought about writing a love song before, as he didn't know much about romance. So, he decided to research by going to a dating spot. Since he couldn't go alone, he thought of taking Asuka with him just for research purposes. Asuka is surprised to hear this, wondering if someone would go on a date just for research. Later, Saga talks to Narasaga in private, and Naro asks him, "Tell me the truth. Do you have any feelings for Asuka?" Saga immediately denies it, saying, "No, I neither like her nor hate her. I'm neutral. I just went for inspiration for writing a love song." Later that night, all the boys gather in their bedroom and start sharing their own love stories with each other to get some ideas for Saga's song, but none of them have had much luck with love. One of them last dated in class 2, another is more interested in boys than girls, and the third story is even stranger. He wanted to date a girl, but his rival always swooped in and took her away. In short, these weren't love stories, but tales of heartbreak and unrequited love. Saga thinks to himself that sitting here is pointless. He decides to focus on the love side of things and tries to come up with lyrics for the song. Meanwhile, Asuka notices him and follows him to the rooftop, where she jokingly tells him, "If my bottle lands in the basket perfectly, you'll go on a date with me." Saga, completely surprised, watches as the bottle lands right inside the basket, hitting the mark perfectly. But Saga shows no excitement, no response. He simply stands up and says, "I'm free this Friday," and walks away. The next day, The boys are practicing at their office, and Asuka brings them lunch. Making lunch wasn't her responsibility, but she often did things like this out of kindness, where Saga navigates his feelings and attempts to write a love song, all while interacting with Asuka and the boys in a humorous and emotionally charged atmosphere. Saga says, "I took advice from a few people, and everyone suggested that the best place for the first date would be zoo, as there are many couples and it's budget-friendly." Saga didn't understand what a research date had to do with anything, but just then, Asuka arrived, who Saga had actually invited. She had ordered food from Chennai and had it delivered. She also met the boys and brought food for them. While talking to the boys, Asuka was smiling several times, and Saga noticed it. It was the first time he saw her smile like that. She said, "I heard that since you started working, you haven't taken a single day off. Your holidays are divided. You should take a rest when you can." Asuka was happy to see how caring Asuka had become. Meanwhile, Saga was secretly researching details about dating spots, what they offer, and what might be romantic. Finally, the day of the date arrived. They both go to the spot, and Saga looks very handsome. However, things go wrong when he realizes that all 6 boys have shown up at the same place for their holiday as well. The boys had come thinking it was not a real date, but they were also just there for research. Seeing them, Saga's mood completely soured. He wasn't in the mood to sightsee or eat anything. His mood was ruined. Asuka noticed how off Saga seemed and decided to intervene. She gathered all the boys and suggested they split up and go to the sites that interested them the most. She was an excellent leader and briefed everyone very well, saying, "I'm also a teacher, so I know how to manage groups." This surprised everyone. She continued, "By the way, Saga, you didn't tell them, but I was your teacher at school." Saga was embarrassed and said, "I don't even remember. I didn't know you were a teacher." The boys scattered in different directions, but one of them still stayed close. Saga's mood was getting worse, so he went to the bar to get a drink and refresh himself. Alone with Asuka, Naros asked her, "Are you the same teacher who encouraged him in music class?" Asuka was surprised. Naros continued, "You were very special to him. The things you said to him were recorded by accident, and whenever he feels down, he listens to your words. In short, you have a great influence on his life." Saga overheard this conversation and felt uneasy. He didn't want Asuka to know about his feelings, but it made him realize that Asuka had had a positive influence on him. He said to her, "I've seen how much you've changed. You were a different person in school, but now you've changed completely." Asuka was upset upon hearing this, but the truth was, there was no need to be disappointed. Saga's comment was meant as a compliment, saying that she had grown into a better person. In this scene, after Asuka's sister posted about her food delivery on social media, she received many customers and orders started pouring in. She was unable to handle the overwhelming response, so she decided to set up a stall at a festival and needed help. To assist her, Asuka took a few days off from work. Saga, on the other hand, deeply missed Asuka and felt the emptiness in their home without her presence. He became very quiet and introspective. When he came back from the office, the house felt empty and quiet, and memories of Asuka flooded his mind. He could not shake off her absence and found it hard to function without her, especially in the kitchen where they used to spend time together. While Saga kept his feelings to himself, his colleagues openly missed Asuka and expressed how much they appreciated her special breakfasts. One day, Saga's friend noticed how much he missed Asuka and observed that he was trying to fix the kitchen cupboard where Asuka had trouble. His friend encouraged him to express his feelings and not keep things bottled up inside, advising him that being expressive would relieve his emotional burden. Saga took his friend's advice to heart, and realizing the importance of expressing his feelings, he rushed to the festival where Asuka had set up her stall. Upon seeing him, Asuka was surprised. Saga confessed that he had misunderstood her change in demeanor and admitted that he had been distant because of his own insecurities and unrealistic expectations. He apologized for not being the person she had expected and reassured her that she was still as special to him as she was before. He encouraged her to express herself and not hold back. Asuka was moved by his words, and Saga, feeling relieved, made a bold gesture by taking her hand. However, after the intimate moment, Saga quickly left, leaving Asuka in shock. Later, Saga went home, inspired to write a love song, which he completed after a night of deep reflection. The next morning, Saga had his song ready and heard Asuka's familiar "good morning" voice. She had returned, and everyone around her was thrilled to see her back. Asuka thanked Saga for fixing the cupboard and bringing back a sense of normalcy. Later, while she was busy with work in the evening, Saga came upstairs, suggesting that their journey together had just begun. In this scene, There, one of the band member diary was present, in which he described the qualities of every club member, but whose own page was empty. Strength was evident, but the name under his own wasn't written. He said that everyone here is qualified and has some quality, but he probably doesn't have any. He felt that he wasn't good at anything and wasn't as capable as the other 6 members. This feeling made him not see his own qualities. Then, he learned something important, and a major announcement was made. The boys were getting their first live concert. They would perform 2 songs. One was a love song which was recently wrote by Saga named Melody, and the other was their first hit, Come Again. The boys felt like they had been given a new life, as this was a huge opportunity for them. If their concert went well, they could reach the #1 spot. They became excited and started planning for the concert, including choreography and how they would perform. Asuka, standing there, gave them an idea, a dance performance with tree dancing, which everyone liked. Although they had little time left, the boys put in all their effort, working hard on the choreography and bringing in new steps. Their rehearsal was going great, and they were also active on social media, live streaming to become more popular, aiming to reach the top spot. During one of the live streams, someone asked Saga what kind of girl he liked. Hearing this, only Asuka came to his mind, but he stayed silent. Sometimes, the boys went on the radio to make their team more popular, and there, they continued their rivalry with a member of a team called Easy, having fights during the shows. Later, when they checked their rankings, they saw a huge improvement. They had moved up from the 60s to the 50s. Only 2 days were left before their concert, and they had completed all their preparations. However, there was a problem. Takra had hurt himself during the rehearsal. He had kept it a secret from everyone. Asuka found out about it and was concerned about how he would perform with an injury, but Takra didn't want to disappoint anyone, so he didn't tell anyone about the pain. Meanwhile, Saga received a message from Nao that she wanted gift because she helped him. Asuka asked him that if he had given her a gift yet. She started telling him that girls love cute gifts and that he could give her anything. Saga replied that he was very busy and didn't have time, but if he did, he'd want to spend it with someone special. Asuka didn't realize the deeper meaning of his words. The boys were told to rest and relax before the big day, and they took this advice. The next day, Saga thanked Nao for helping him and gave her a gift, a concert ticket. Nove was thrilled and said she would definitely come, even though she had received a short notice just a day before. As time passed, Takra's pain became unbearable. He had hidden it for so long, but eventually, Asuka found out and was concerned about how he would manage his performance. Takra was too scared to tell anyone, fearing disappointment. When the boys learned about his injury, Saga advised him that forcing himself might prevent him from giving his 100% performance. He was taken to the hospital, feeling very sad because the doctor had advised him to rest for 2 weeks, and the concert was the next day. He wouldn't be able to participate in the concert, which made him very upset. His 2 friends came to him and said, "We're a band, part of the same team. We're all going on stage, and you'll be with us. Don't worry if you can't stand. We can sit, and we'll perform sitting with you." The boys then went home, made some changes to their choreography, and adjusted it for a sitting position. Finally, the evening of the concert arrived. Many people were there, including a celebrity named Really, who was a fan of theirs and had secretly come to watch the concert. Asuka also arrived, and the boys learned that the concert would be live broadcasted and the president would be watching it too. Their future depended on this performance, as it would affect their ranking. When the boys made their stage entrance, the audience was sitting on chairs. They explained to the crowd that Takra had had an accident, which is why they had to change their choreography. They began their performance, with Takra sitting while the others performed, standing and sitting alternately. They never let him feel isolated. The performance was amazing, and there was a moment when Takra smiled while looking at Asuka. Saga also looked at her, feeling deeply moved. The boys went home while Asuka went out for dinner with the others. There, Ansika asked her, "Have you never felt insecure? How do you always stay so sweet and smiley?" Asuka replied, "Being insecure is only a mindset when I consider myself superior to others. I'm humble and don't look down on anyone." She still had memories of an incident from school that made her feel like a failure. The rest of the band returned Takra's diary, and in it, they had written many qualities about him, filling up 2 pages. Slowly, they became a perfect team. The next day, the ranking updates came in. Asuka was very nervous, but gradually their rank started improving. When they checked, their melody song was ranked number 3, which made Asuka sad. But as Saga comforted her, he pointed out that the song had actually climbed to first place, and they had achieved their goal. Saga rushed to Asuka's house. She was standing at the gate, all ready. They met face to face, and before Saga could say anything, Zhao hugged him and congratulated him, saying, "I like you, but not in that way, so please don't keep any expectations. Saga tried to explain, running to Asuka's side, saying, please don't misunderstand. I don't have feelings for now, and you don't need to pretend to be normal. Forget everything and just focus on us. Before he could express his feelings, all the boys arrived and said, we're home! Asuka also congratulated them and thanked them for their support in helping her keep her courage up. The era of Bloom was about to begin. They were being invited to numerous interviews and shows and receiving so many concerts because they had become the #1 brand in streaming. They had to move out of their house for both of them. And as they were leaving, Saga tells Asuka that once I return after my fair, wait for me, and I will settle things well with anger. We see that 3 months passed, and Bloom had become a huge celebrity. In Japan, they were so famous that they didn't even have time to return home. They were either doing photo shoots, giving magazine interviews, or being brand ambassadors. Their contract was renewed, and Cash said that this is just the beginning, not the end, and a new chapter of Bloom's success would start from here. Once, during an interview, one of their members from the UK casually mentioned that there had been an 8th member in the group. I wish he was still with us, but the other members quickly silenced him. We also learned that for the past 3 months, the busiest one among them was Saga, who had been writing new songs for them. Asuka, on the other hand, had mostly been free lately because the boys didn't need to return to the hostel. She spent most of her time with her sister. Her sister asked her if her relationship with Saga had progressed, and Asuka, somewhat surprised, replied that she didn't want to disturb Saga, especially as he was enjoying a happy time. She said she didn't want to distract him since he was a big celebrity, and she was just a maid. When Asuka returned home, she found a cake scattered outside her house. Who did this? She didn't know. She was scared at first, but later some voices came from the house, and everyone else arrived late. Here, Asuka is always angry these days. Her mood is bad because it's been almost 3 months since Saga last visited their house. She hasn't even seen his face. Asuka then found out that the boys' next performance would be at Saga's school, and they would be giving a concert there. Asuka invited everyone, saying, you must come and watch, but Asuka didn't have good memories associated with that place, and left. One member also messaged their 8th member, who replied, saying he would definitely come to watch the performance at school, but another member was not happy with this. He said, why are you calling him? We don't have any relationship with him. He left us, and now you want me to come? This led to a fight between the 2 boys. Meanwhile, Asuka found out that Saga was coming home today and wanted to have a dinner prepared by Asuka's hand, but there was nothing in the fridge, so she ran out to buy groceries. It started raining heavily, and just as she was trying to protect herself, none other than Saga came to her rescue. He told her that she never remembers him. She felt embarrassed and tried to get rid of him, but he insisted on taking her back inside. He said he was the boy who always sat with her in class, her high school friend. Asuka then remembered this too, and mentioned that he had been their teacher. Asuka apologized, saying, I won't be able to come to your performance at school. But Saga said, for your sake, we will do a live broadcast, so you can watch it. Some girls start following Saga, but he quickly hides Asuka with him so that no one can see them. However, Asuka wasn't feeling good about the situation. She feared that if people found out that she, a maid, was getting so close to Saga, it would lead to criticism on social media. When they reached home, they found that there was a lot of damage outside, and some people had even thrown stones. It wasn't clear who did it, but in this situation, their manager immediately arrived. It was her responsibility to ensure the safety of the celebrities. She quickly told them to pack up and said, until this issue is resolved by the police, you all should stay out of trouble. Saga was worried about Asuka, and Asuka was told to move to her sister's place to be safe, assuring her that she would continue to receive her salary. However, Asuka didn't agree. She said, it is my responsibility to take care of this place, and I will stay here. She couldn't make dinner because the fridge only had rice balls. Saga didn't like food made by someone else, but Asuka insisted, you are special. Don't forget that. Later, at the hotel, Saga was frustrated because he couldn't have a serious conversation with Asuka. Every time he tried, something would interrupt, and he lost the courage to talk to her. Meanwhile, he learned that Yuki and Iggy had fought. Yuki had started focusing more on his studies and wanted to get a certificate. Yuki felt that the band wasn't getting his full commitment because he still thought Bloom's future was uncertain. He wanted to play it safe with a backup plan, but Saga managed to control the situation and calmed everyone down, telling them to focus on the upcoming performance. The next day, the school management and the boys' band met with 2 teachers, one of whom was a history teacher who had been Saga's teacher. He was happy to see Saga so successful. The others asked how Saga had been in school, and the teacher explained he was different back then. But then a teacher named Asuka came, and after meeting her, he completely changed. It was revealed that Asuka was very close to Saga, and everyone found out that she was the same Asuka. The history teacher was surprised when he heard this and asked, "Please let me meet her." Meanwhile, Asuka was shown that the criminal who had attacked the house again was none other than Ro, their 8th band member. As soon as he left, he had been contacting the band members repeatedly, and it seemed like he was trying to provoke them. Now he had become an employee, and the others had become celebrities, coming into the spotlight and causing trouble. Everyone arrived, and there was anger towards him. He said, "You can call the police, but I want to make it clear that I didn't leave because of anything personal. I left because I thought the band was a failure. I even told Saga to leave Bloom and look for someone else." However, Saga never shared this with anyone to avoid making him look bad. The one who was meant to leave, left, and no one should blame him for it later. In the evening, the 7 of them gathered together. Yuki apologized to everyone, saying he shouldn't have contact and that it was his mistake. Everyone acknowledged that Saga was great, always taking the blame on himself, but never revealing the truth. They all believed that if their band was successful today, it was because of Saga, who had kept them united and put in the most effort. Later, Saga went to Asuka and apologized, saying, "If I ever made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. I used to be very rude, and I apologize for that too." Asuka was calm and normal in front of him, but deep inside, she was hurt by his actions. Finally, the 7 of them went to school for a performance, while Asuka met with Rose. She told him, "I understand your feelings. When a person feels lost, it seems like everything is too big to handle, and they start learning from it." Asuka tells Saga, "If tomorrow you feel that you were harsh or let negativity affect you, you will regret it. If you want peace of mind, there's still time to make things right. These are your friends, so why are you letting this affect you?" Saga asks, "Why are you telling me all this?" Asuka replies, "Because I have been through depression, and I know what it feels like to escape from your emotions. I can understand this well." Meanwhile, Bloom's performance had started at the school. Asuka and Rose were running towards the school at the same time, with Asuka trailing behind. Rose arrives and gives Asuka advice, telling her, "You can be strong because I understand what you're going through." Rose had once been on the stage with the boys, but now he was just part of the crowd. He missed the time when they were together, but he remained positive and was happy for their success. Later, that one who was practicing to get certificate apologized to them, and Easy admitted, "I still felt insecure, just like Rose. That's why I planned and was getting a certificate, but I realized it was a mistake. I won't make any plans now. I'll only focus on performing for my band and give my 100%. The boys had a group discussion, and they were all on the same page. At the same time, it was revealed that Saga understood that Asuka's depression was linked to her past experiences at school. He immediately rushed to help her, wanting to support her. When he reached, he saw Asuka sitting alone, crying. He held her hand and comforted her. Meanwhile, as the boys were on their way to their old school, Asuka got more depressed. She sat down, crying, and when Saga came to help her, he tried to console her. Just then, the history teacher, Tani, came and told Saga, "Before the crowd gathers and makes a scene, come inside. I'll handle Asuka." The boys were outside, giving autographs and taking photos with their families. After a little while, it was time to pack up, and Yuki remarked, "Why does it feel like you're really special to me?" This made Saga feel awkward. The teacher, Tani, was very sweet, and he had noticed Asuka's kindness from the beginning. He had sympathy for her and had always helped her. After the event, he drove her home. Later that night, after finishing work, when the boys arrived home, Asuka was already there, cheering them up. Asuka welcomed everyone and had even made a small cake as a surprise because their new song had topped the rankings and was trending at #1. Saga was amazed at how Asuka, despite all her struggles, had returned to be there for them. He was really concerned about her, so he stayed with her at night, helping her wash the dishes. During this, there was a small accident, and he thanked her again for helping bring their friendship back. Asuka thanked him, saying, "Today, I became a burden for all of you, but you came to help me. So, very, very thanks." She pretended to collapse while running with him, but Saga knew she was just stressed out, and it wasn't as serious as it seemed. Asuka didn't want to show her weakness in front of others. Later, when Saga joined the other boys, he learned that they had all prepared a surprise for Asuka. They were planning a celebration in her honor, decorating her house, arranging a party, and giving her gifts to thank her for helping with their mental health and giving them confidence. Meanwhile, the president was also very happy with Bloom's success since their new song was still at #1 on the rankings. As for Asuka, the president noticed how Asuka's personal life was progressing, especially her closeness with Saga. Asuka had become more than just a professional colleague. She had become part of their personal lives. The president expressed concern, noting that Asuka's influence on the boys, particularly Saga, was growing stronger. Outside, she mentioned to Kinchi, "I've also noticed that Asuka is affecting them, especially Saga." Asuka, who had been trying to meet Asuka alone, approached her and said, "I've noticed you're getting too involved with the boys lately, but now you have a responsibility. You must be careful. You won't just be one of the crowd anymore, especially when it comes to Saga." Later, that night, all the boys met to finalize the surprise for Asuka, brainstorming ideas and even consulting Saga. But Saga was confused and didn't understand what they were planning. The next day, Saga encountered Asuka's sister, who had brought food for Asuka. As they talked, the sister found out that Asuka had been unwell because she had been running towards the school. The sister understood that it wasn't a breathing issue, but something related to Asuka's mental health. At this moment, the principal and teacher Tani arrived at the school to discuss the motivational video they were shooting for the students. And they also interacted with the boys from Bloom. The boys asked about Asuka's teacher, and the principal started speaking ill of her. Asuka's sister arrived and defended her, saying that Asuka was not bad, but it was the principal who was at fault. She reminded him that all the responsibility was his, and that he had made Asuka's life miserable. The rest of the boys then spoke to teacher Tani, asking for the full story. Later, Asuka's sister asked her to share the complete story, and we learned that Asuka was once a very good teacher who took care of her students and supported them. She helped a student who wanted to study abroad by supporting her and helping find a university. But one day, Asuka's teacher's mother insulted her, accusing her of leading the student down the wrong path. Besides that, Asuka had a lot of responsibilities and was the most junior teacher, often taking on extra work from other teachers. Her nature was so helpful that she couldn't refuse anyone, but in return, she was burdened with even more work. Once, due to an issue with the student's mother, Asuka made a mistake and missed a quiz. The student's mother caused a lot of negative publicity, and when Asuka apologized, the entire class scolded her. They accused her of ruining their hard work, despite the fact that she had given her best effort. She was hated by everyone except for teacher Tani, who understood her situation. This burden affected Asuka so much that she eventually took it all out on her mother. The next day, she came to school, but left and never returned. Her sister revealed that Asuka had to take depression medication for a year, and she eventually gave up on her dream of becoming a teacher. Instead, she started running a restaurant with her sister. The boys felt a lot of sympathy for Asuka, but Saga told them that no one should feel sorry for her. If someone shared sympathy with them, it would not feel good. He assured them that they wouldn't let anyone pity Asuka, and that they would still plan a surprise for her, just like they had originally intended. The boys, secretly sending Asuka out, decorated her house and prepared a surprise. They each gave her gifts, and a special cake was made for her. However, Saga was still unsure about what gift to give Asuka. Asuka felt very special since she had started staying with them, and her depression had slowly been improving. She said, "You all are trying to hide things from me, but I know my sister told you about my past everything. You guys already know what happened in school." She added that it was better that way, and if she had stayed a teacher, she wouldn't have been able to be so open with them. She then explained the meaning of her name. This was the moment when Asuka's revival, like a blooming flower, was deeply etched in Saga's heart. She recalls that yesterday, while running with the race, he had stopped for a moment and saw a live stream. During it, he heard that Saga had credited Asuka for his new motivational song. He didn't take her name, but he credited her, saying that he was an idol today, thanks to a teacher from his school. This gesture made Asuka feel incredibly special, and that's when she started running so that she could watch the live stream. However, as soon as she reached the school, she started feeling depressed again. She felt unworthy and couldn't bring herself to go inside. She thought, maybe I am stupid. I do silly things. But Saga told her, never call yourself stupid again. You're awesome. In fact, you're the best, and you'll always be the best for us. Why do you do so much? Why do you always give 100%? Even when you're struggling, you keep giving your all. But from now on, don't push yourself too hard. Saying this, Saga became very emotional, and the other boys, too, showed their full support to Asuka, letting her know how special she was. Asuka felt that today was the best day of her life, surrounded by such wonderful people. Later that evening, while having a drink, Saga came up to her and said, "Sorry, I didn't bring you a gift. I was so worried, thinking about what gift to give and what to say to you." Then he pulled her close and said, "I like your spirit." He made an A+ sign on her hand and said, "From me, you get an A+. Promise me, you'll never stress yourself out over others, because you're so special to me." They were standing together when they noticed that Bloom had released a new song, which was doing exceptionally well, topping the rankings. They were performing the same song live on a show, and not only were their vocals outstanding, but their performance also won the hearts of the audience. Day by day, they were becoming more popular. Asuka enjoyed seeing this, watching the show on TV. Bloom was very happy these days, as they had achieved all their dreams. They said, "If we're trending today, it's all because of Bloomings. We love our fans so much." The best part was that their song was #1 on the charts, while it was also Chenny's birthday that day. It was the 4th day, but Naro seemed a little upset. Then we see a flashback where he recalls meeting Asuka during the Festival of Chath, along with Saga. Saga had given her an A+, and Asuka and Saga decided that no matter how busy they get with work or business, they would always meet once a week on weekends and motivate each other, giving an A+ to one another. They were both very happy with this decision, but Naro seemed a little down after that. Later, Asuka was invited by her teacher, Tani, to meet her. They talked and caught up, and teacher Tani shared that she had left her previous school because she didn't feel connected to it anymore due to its strictness. She also mentioned how, when Asuka talks about Asuka and his voice, her eyes light up, just like when she used to talk about her students in the past. Tani told her that she had now started teaching at a new school, which was completely different from traditional schools, a free-spirited school. Asuka was surprised by this and told her to take a look at the school, as she would love it. Although Asuka had no idea about such schools, the idea of a free-spirited school really excited her, and she was happy about it. Later that evening, the scene at home showed that everyone was busy. Asuka sat alone, upset, as she remembered how she had lost a competition to Chenny. However, her mood brightened as she recalled how well she had performed in other competitions. In the meantime, the president of the organization came in, looking upset, and informed them that there had been repeated demands from Bloom's fans for a live concert. The president also told them that their national tour was about to begin, starting with a concert in Tokyo, Japan, the largest avenue in the city. Bloom was thrilled to hear this news, as their biggest dream was about to come true. After that, the president approached Asuka and said, "Do you remember you challenged me to collect 1,000 Bloom fans? Well, not 1,000, but thousands of fans have gathered." She expressed how proud she was of Bloom's achievements, praising them for becoming so successful. Asuka was overjoyed by this recognition. A week passed, and it was time for Saga and Asuka to meet again. They sat together on the terrace, exchanging A+ ratings and motivating each other. Both seemed very happy. Asuka was busy, but Asuka shared with him how her week had gone and all the new things she had experienced. She felt that Bloom's success was just like the success of her students, a reflection of all the hard work they had put in. Success is achieved through consistency, and alongside that, he was also focusing on his studies. One day, while doing his homework, Naro makes a mistake, and Asuka, being very sweet, motivates him for his studies. But she notices that Naro has been under a lot of pressure lately. Naro's problem begins because he feels that everyone around him has some fascinating talent, but he doesn't feel like he has anything outstanding. That's why he works hard in every field. Asuka asks him what he enjoys the most, and he replies that he used to love making videos and wanted to become a director. He also enjoys his studies a lot. Asuka tells him that if there's no plan, he should pursue what he enjoys. She suggests he take courses in this field and try it out. Naro feels happy with this advice. Later, when Naro goes to the bathroom, his mood suddenly shifts. Saga notices this and gets worried. Naro follows him and notices that something is bothering him. Naro tells Saga that he overheard him and Asuka talking during the Chat Festival on terrace. He tells him that he has no problem with it and supports them. However, if anyone else at home sees this, it will cause a big drama, and no one will accept that their relationship is with her. Later, Saga notices on Naro's phone that he's searching for information on video editing and direction, aiming to become a professional director. The next day at the office, they discuss how to promote their upcoming concerts. They plan to feature one of them as the director for the project. Saga immediately suggests Naro as the director, thinking he is the right person for the job. Naro is thrilled by this opportunity and promises to give his best. Though it was a new responsibility, he was excited because it was something he liked. For their upcoming music video, they decided it should be mature, as the song was a love song that required emotional depth. Naro decided that the shoot should take place in a natural setting, like the beach. As time passed, Naro reflects on how lucky they were. Initially, they had no idea about their future, and now, they were becoming successful. It felt like a dream coming true. One day, Saga confides in Asuka, telling her that he gets scared sometimes. "How can everything be so perfect and beautiful? We're getting so much success in line, and I fear that one day, everything might fall apart. Asuka encourages Saga, giving him the motivation he needs. Saga also decides to encourage her. She gives him an A+ on his hand, but when they notice a disturbance, Saga falls down as soon as he sees it, and everyone else starts making noise because all other band members saw them. Saga goes on to explain to everyone that he will soon announce his decision. As the chaos continues, everyone asks Saga about his situation. Saga responds that his luck has been terrible, and he's been stuck in a bad situation. He also admits that he likes Asuka, but that's the extent of it. Nothing more. They aren't dating, just encouraging each other. Saga affirms that there's nothing romantic going on. The rest of the members are impressed and praise them, saying that their bond is a positive one and that it brings good energy. They express their happiness for both of them, calling their connection cute and promising to keep it a secret. The day of the music video shoot arrives. Naro tells Asuka to come watch the shoot, which will take place at the beach. Asuka agrees to come, but she hasn't moved on from past feelings yet. Saga has already been invited by Naro to join the shoot. When Asuka arrives, everyone is shocked to see her driving. She explains that their driver fractured his leg and needs 2 weeks of rest, so she's driving them for the time being. Though she admits she's not the best driver, she has a license, and they are all in for a bumpy ride. During the shoot, the director struggles to find something he likes about the video. He criticizes their expressions, and sometimes their smiles, as they're aiming for something more mature and sexy for the song. Eventually, they take a lunch break, and the boys discuss their future, wondering where they'll be in 10 years. During this break, Asuka is asked where she sees herself in 10 years. This question throws her off, and she gets upset. After the break, they return to shooting the final scene, as Naro wants to give his best performance. When the shoot is over and Asuka is packing, Saga approaches her and tells her that he couldn't give her an A+ yesterday, but today he can. He reassures her not to worry about the future. If she's good, then good things will happen. As they talk, the others call them to get ready to leave. The music video directed by the team turns out to be really impressive. At one point, Asuka gets angry and asks Saga, "Last time, you said something meaningful. What will you say today?" The president responds, saying that while everything has an expiration time, Asuka has prepared her favorite lunch because she's heading to school. Meanwhile, Naro leaves the house and walks outside, looking very troubled. Soon, we see that Bloom is in trouble. On social media, everyone is criticizing them, and their fans have started to hate them, especially Saga. This happened because a photo went viral in which Saga was holding Asuka's hand while standing near Bloom. The photo was taken secretly, but its consequences were severe, leading to Bloom's downfall. Bloom's heart is broken, and everyone accuses Saga of having inappropriate relations with his maid. When asked, Saga openly admits, "I do like Asuka, but I'm not dating her." Asuka expresses disbelief, saying that while she may accept it, the world won't believe in the purity of their relationship. She asks Asuka to stop his feelings and leave the house immediately. But before that, Asuka has already packed her things and left. Meanwhile, there's a media frenzy outside Bloom's office, with everyone wanting to ask Saga questions. However, when he arrives home, Asuka is missing, and Saga gets upset with Naro for not stopping her from leaving. Naro asks why he didn't prevent Asuka from leaving, and Saga says, "I told her to leave before. I always warned you to be careful, but you didn't listen." At this time, Asuka has gone to the office and meets the president through Koshak. She apologizes and expresses her desire to resign. The president first takes her to a venue where Bloom's concert was supposed to be held and asks, "Do you want Bloom to succeed?" She tells Asuka that if she wants Bloom to succeed, she must make the decision to remove herself from their lives. Saga, meanwhile, is advised by his company to appear in front of the media, apologize, and give an explanation. However, Saga refuses, saying, "Why should I apologize? I did nothing wrong. Do I not have the right to enjoy a small happiness in my life, to spend time with her?" As this conversation unfolds, the president overhears and enters, having heard everything. "All right, if you get upset and don't want to do it, then stay aside. There are only 6 of us, and until your mind is right, these 6 will perform at the concerts and all the programs." The other members say to Saga, "Without you, we are incomplete. You shouldn't take a break. This is a critical moment. Apologize." But Naro says, "Leave him to his situation. Bloom doesn't need him. I'll lead you all now." The next day, the group is on a TV show, and only the 6 members of Bloom are performing. Saga watches them on TV, seeing that they are still performing without him. Days continue to pass. 3 months go by, and Saga constantly feels that maybe Asuka has come back, but his hopes are dashed as Asuka still hasn't returned or contacted him. One day, Trinity comes to him and says, "Right now, you're filled with negative emotions. It's good you're staying away from social media. or you'll keep blaming yourself. Meanwhile, KLG briefs the remaining 6 members. They had progressed. Their fan following had decreased, but it was now increasing again. Thanks to their hard work, they were coming back to the point where they had started. Some members felt that things were improving and that Saga should come back. But Naro says, no matter how difficult things got, we faced them. We didn't give up and kept working hard until Saga changes his mind. He has no right to return. However, Bloom had a new problem. She had no new songs since Saga always wrote them. Saga finds out through Shaka that Bloom would now sing songs written by others, which shocks him. He is surprised that the other boys have agreed to it. He leaves, feeling troubled, as he usually hides from crowds. While passing through the market, Saga sees a post about a festival where he performed with the other members of Bloom. He goes home, shows it to Naro, and says, "You should perform in this show. This is where our journey to success began." A video had made them popular, and now, when it comes to writing songs, the other boys say, "We like your songs. We want your compositions. Please find a bit of luck within yourself and make some changes. What will you do now, Saga?" But Saga still says, "How can I apologize when I haven't done anything wrong?" Finally, Bloom agrees to attend the show and the festival. She goes to the market, but they didn't expect her to come. Meanwhile, Saga is about to leave when the other boys suggest, "Why not perform together today? There are no restrictions here. We can sing as we please, from our hearts." Koshak also gives them permission. She had given it because it was their day off. The mascot show starts here, and Saga is quite hesitant and scared. He hesitates, but no one points it out. He performs with the boys, and he feels very happy after performing. Later, they all feel quite uplifted. When he gets home, he is looking for some documents when everyone finds out that he actually has a dream, and that is to go to college. He is thinking about where to apply, but since he is with Bloom, he is a little reluctant. Saga, on the other hand, always hides his face and goes out, but wherever he goes, he remembers Asuka's memories. Today, he notices Asuka's sister and talks to her. She tells him that she recently started a freestyle school in Patna and that she's got a new dream and new teachers. Saga is shocked to hear that Asuka sent him a message. She explains that Asuka had recorded something for him and given it to Naro. Upon returning home, Saga starts an argument with Naro. He is very angry with Naro for hiding this from him, but Naro responds, saying, "How could I give it to you? If you had heard from Asuka, you would have become weak and never listened to us. We didn't want you to be alone. You've always been my inspiration, even when you were the leader. I followed you and moved forward with your songs. Without your songs, we are nothing. I thought you would forget Asuka and join Bloom again. That's why I did this." Suddenly, another friend comes to Saga and gives him an address. He tells him that Asuka's sister is now in a festival, and he found out through some friends this morning. Saga quickly heads there, but ahead, he's still angry. Someone asks him, "What do you think? Will Asuka be happy to see you in this condition?" Then, President Person tells him, "The last time Asuka met me before your concert, she said, 'I want these boys to fulfill their dreams. That's my dream. Now, how can she will see you down, but she will also walk the same path as you?" Saga needed to go, so he rushes off to the address, which leads him to an academy. Before entering, he turns on his recorder and listens to what Asuka had said to him before her passing. She first apologizes, saying that she is leaving without saying goodbye, but also tells him, "You are the most special to me. The time I spent with you was the best time of my life," she says, while thanking him. "You always encouraged me, gave me an A+, boosted my confidence, and made me feel valued." She also says, "Seeing all of you has reignited a new passion within me. I want to fulfill my dream again, to become a teacher." Along with this, she wishes him good luck. Saga sees her, and in the rain, he notices a lot of children with Asuka. He starts to approach her, but then moves away without meeting her. As Saga walks away, someone gives him an umbrella. It's that history teacher, and she tells him, "Don't worry about Asuka. She is doing very well here. Just like she supported you, now she is teaching the children here to bloom again." Saga hears this, and without taking the umbrella, he rushes off. Meanwhile, the other boys are having a frank discussion. Naro says, "I always wanted to be a director, and this is my passion. But for that, I need to study overseas, something I can't do because of Bloom." One of the boys had a dream of taking dance training from experts, and another boy had been involved in big projects, but their paths were limited because of Bloom. Then, Saga comes in and says, "We all give 100% to Bloom, but has anyone thought about other important things in life?" All the boys then apologize to each other, clearing the confusion. They admit that Bloom was always number one in their lives, and they thought it was the most important thing. Saga says, "I'm not saying to give 100% to everyone, but I want to keep everyone happy, so stop being confused and follow your passion." Then, Saroj suggests, "Why don't we disband?" He talks about how Asuka had recommended a good school for freestyle, which had fewer restrictions, and the students there were free to be themselves. Asuka loved teaching, and it was her passion. Later, the Bloom team goes to the president and tells her that they have decided to leave the band. The president thinks it's because of Saga, but they all say, "No, it's not. We had an honest conversation with each other. All of us had our own dreams, our own goals. We wanted to experience a lot, but we were holding ourselves back because of Bloom. To become masters in our own fields, we had to move on from Bloom." The president says, "It's your decision, but Saga can return to Bloom from tomorrow if she wants." They also find out that their concert tour is about to start, and they plan to announce their decision to leave the band at the final concert in front of their fans. Afterward, Saga listens to a song he had written. It's a song he wants to perform at the closing of their concert in front of their fans. The president likes it a lot, and Saga says, "This song is for all of you." The president says, "Think carefully before making such a big decision. Don't regret leaving the band. Please reconsider." But the boys have already made up their minds. They all work hard, practicing for their final concert, and they want to give an amazing performance, making their fans happy. The biggest happiness they have now is that after all the struggles, Saga also agrees to their decision. The boys are joined on stage, and Chennai also comes to them. They are sad after hearing that the band is breaking up. They approach the boys and tell them, "You were our best rivals. It was great competing with you. If you guys leave, we will be really sad." After hearing this, the boys start talking about how, if their closure is inevitable, it should happen on good terms. Then they reminisce about the brown rice balls Asuka used to make, which they really loved. They wish to meet Asuka again, but the boys have made up their minds and are standing firm on their decision. Later, they visit the house and thank their manager, saying that he was their favorite and the best manager so far. The manager is overwhelmed and teary-eyed upon hearing this. Afterward, the boys stand outside, and one of them, in an emotional moment, lets slip that the band is breaking up. This news makes everyone sad, and now steps forward and apologizes, explaining that it was her fault that the controversial photos were taken. She had known the boys were going to shoot on the beach, and she accidentally shared this with a reporter, who later secretly took the photos. Saga tells her there's no need to apologize. It wasn't her fault, and he should have been more careful. Meanwhile, Asuka is teaching freestyle at a school, and her sister often visits. One day, while she is bringing lunch for the children, she unknowingly mentions that Asuka was previously in Bloom. A student overhears this, and later, that student plans to reveal Asuka's photo along with all her details on social media. However, Asuka and Tani arrive just in time and request the student not to post it, explaining that it would hurt Bloom and they can't afford another setback. After hearing this, the student changes his mind and decides not to post it. Later, a special person comes to meet Asuka, revealing that the band Bloom is breaking up. She feels deeply regretful hearing this because she had always admired the boys, and she felt they deserved to go far. Asuka wants to meet Asuka before the band dissolves to clear the air and discuss anything left unsaid. Asuka listens to her, feeling sad but thoughtful. In the evening, when the boys return home, they are surprised to see Asuka standing there. They are unsure whether to be shocked or happy. Asuka speaks to them, telling them to meet her privately. Naro is the first to apologize, admitting that he was rude earlier and asking for forgiveness. Asuka then speaks to them, saying, "I've heard you're ending the band, but remember, no matter what, people who have always supported you, your fans, will have their hearts broken. They will feel devastated." One by one, the boys approach her, thanking her for all the time and support she had given them. They appreciate how much she had motivated them, cared for them, and helped them through difficult times. They each acknowledge her effort and give her credit. Saga, standing aside, still looks distressed. But before leaving, Asuka approaches him and says, "I know you're struggling with writing new songs. I understand what you're going through, but I want you to know that I will wait for your new songs because your music comes straight from your heart and it always reaches mine." Afterward, they give her a glance at the house where her most cherished memory is tied. Asuka then hands her Bloom concert tickets and tells her, "You must come," and thanks her, saying, "After meeting you, I've become a better person." Finally, the concerts of Bloom was about to start. On the day of their first concert, they were excited yet nervous. The president tells them, "Don't disappoint the Bloomers. Give your best and enjoy the moment." One by one, they performed in different cities across Japan. All of their concerts were a huge success, and after Saga's return, the issue had faded away and became old news. No controversies remained. Once, even a Channy joined them for their show and expressed their support. They said, "We also love Bloom, and just as you all love us, love Bloom as well." Now, finally, they were traveling back as their last tour in their city was coming to an end, but the Asuka was left behind. She gave her ticket to a student and tell them, "TK, enjoy the concert." She then went away, but she kept turning back, looking at the place. The president calls out to her and says, "Don't strain your heart. There's no need. Here, take this entry card." And she goes inside. She arrived at the concert with her special pass, and the boys performed exceptionally well. This was Saga's new song, which he had written thinking it would be his last song for Bloom. The crowd was huge, and it was their best concert yet. Afterward, they came forward and announced, "We had decided that today we would disband, but that was just our plan. The truth is, my heart doesn't want to do this." One by one, the members spoke up and shared their situations with the fans. They said, "We want to gain more experience, follow our dreams, and come back even better to present ourselves to you." Saga made it clear that he didn't want to leave the band, and along with him, many other members expressed the same sentiment. Their hearts were in the same condition, so they decided that they would follow their dreams and continue their journey. However, whenever their dreams would be fulfilled, they promised they would return, and Bloom would never end. It would just restart from where it left off. Seeing this, everyone's eyes filled with tears of emotions. Everyone became emotional as they listened to them. Blooms bowed down and apologized to their fans, but their fans were even more emotional. One fan stood up and began singing the song, "Come Again," with lyrics that went like this: "You will come again, and you will find us standing right where we were before. You will bloom once more." Now, when you gathered, they sang this song for them. Tears filled their eyes as they hadn't expected so much love from their fans. They promised everyone they would come back, no matter what. They promised, "Stay as you are, we will come back, and we will meet you again on this stage." Saga was very happy, and Asuka was standing there as well. Then, they all took a temporary break. 3 years passed in this way. Ansu also had a routine at school, and today was a special day for her because Bloom was making their comeback. Their show aired on TV, and she was so happy to see them all back together again. Here, Saga says, "The lyrics of the new song I wrote are inspired by the meaning of Asuka's name, to bloom again." And then he begins performing his song. As soon as Asuka hears the song, it brings back memories of the time he spent with the boys in the past. Tears fill her eyes. In the meantime, someone calls out to her, "It's Saga." Asuka is surprised to see because the performance was pre-recorded. Then Asuka says, "I need your hand," and gives him an A+ grade, saying, "You've worked very hard," and also gives Ansu an A+ for her new song. Saga and Ansu shake hands, marking the beginning of a new chapter. On one side, Bloom is starting a new chapter, and on the other side, Asuka and Saga are beginning a new phase in their lives. With this, the drama comes to an end.